Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. Hope you had a good weekend, and it's Q&A time, so anything goes, be it for yourself, your clients, your friends, whatever. Go ahead and unmute yourself and type in. Anything goes.
And then go ahead, Christy, then Saja.
Hey, Christy.
Hey there, halfway through that amazing Astara class. Holy smokes. It's good.
The one that just went up.
Oh, the Kriya Sakti.
Yes, thank you. That's incredible.
Thank you.
So two questions.
Mhm.
My nephew that was in the hospital that had all the heart issues, he's on heart blood pressure medication now.
Okay.
Maintaining. He did already have some basil oil, which he's been taking. And we've gotten him the Tarragon. So my question is, should he just do the Tarragon and not do the basil for now?
And remind me what we were doing that for.
So he went into the hospital. He was having seizures. He was in arrhythmia. They had to do heart ablation, and he had very poor vagal tone. For the last year, he's had severe gut issues, just a really stressful year with a sick child.
Okay.
So
yeah, let's have him go pretty hard on the Tarragon. Yeah, like inhale, but like 2 or 3 drops in water, like maybe even twice a day. The other thing you could rotate in there is either rosemary verbenin by itself, or rotate in that ANS support. And you could do Tarragon 1 dosage and then the rosemary verbenin or ANS the second. But a couple of things, you're wanting to rehab like what we would call a stress plague digestive tract. You want to undo the effects of stress, be it physical or psychological, doesn't really matter. And the reason we're going a little bit heavier on the Tarragon is just to balance out the vagus nerve and the parasympathetic activity, which is the rest and repair mode component of the autonomic nervous system, the involuntary part of the nervous system. At some point, we can switch over, and usually this is what I do with when somebody has like a pretty serious imbalance in the autonomic nervous system, is we would do Tarragon, or even marjoram could be substituted for that. But for this, I kind of like Tarragon a little bit more. And then for a little while, we do that, and then we have them slow roll into using anise. That would be internally, just by itself, not in a blend or anything. And that has a little bit more of a balancing effect between the sympathetic and parasympathetic, or the fight flight versus rest and repair component of the autonomic nervous system. It's balancing it out. And then after a little while of that, I would move them into frankincense and myrrh, so the 3 wise men blend, or to blend frankincense and myrrh together. And you're affecting the endocrine system, you're affecting some of the cerebral spinal fluid circulation there, but also with the frankincense and myrrh, you're hitting the hypothalamus, and it even further helps to balance out the autonomic nervous system, or that involuntary part of the nervous system. I find that if you kind of slow walk it like that, it's more effective, and it'll last longer after they stop taking the oils or stop doing the treatment. And so I always like to kind of do this progressive thing with that. Honestly, most people don't usually make it out of the first phase, and they start feeling a little bit better and they just kind of drop it. But if I was to do this is the therapeutic approach, that's what I would do. So the Tarragon combined with rosemary or ANS, then eventually move into anise, maybe 3 or 4 weeks out, and then 3 or 4 weeks out from there, relatively big dosages of frankincense and myrrh. I would say 6 drops, maybe a couple of times a day. That will jumpstart all the glands and everything, but it will also help to balance out the long-term effects of the autonomic nervous system.
Okay, so I don't want to overwhelm him with too much. So is it okay to take him off of the basil and just focus
Yeah.
on tarragon?
Yeah,
And
you
so
can
do
let him go on
tarragon
basil.
for how long before I check back in again?
I would say at least 2 weeks.
Okay. All right, and then the next question is my sister-in-law, who I've talked with you about on she's doing a lot of healing work, self-work, and is doing much better. She is getting very close to being interested in one of the classes.
Mhm.
And I wanted to know if you had a class that you think would be best suited for a new person, that wouldn't be too overwhelming, or you think would be best for her.
And you're thinking like a little bit more of a clinical class or a little bit more of a like esoteric thing? Like, what are you thinking?
She's really struggling with her spiritual path. She's really struggling with, she had a lot of like delusional things going on. She's really been working on, flushing doing the salt baths, doing the things so she's at a place now where she seems more like she realizes that things she was thinking weren't reality, but
Mhm.
she's also like struggles with kind of finding feeling the joy, like she's trying to figure out what is real and what she's doing. And so
What's it like with the people around her? Is she in like situations where it's potentially like a toxic kind of environment, or she was just having difficulty?
she's had long-term anxiety, and so there were a lot of things that she was doing to soothe the anxiety and depression. And
But how
so
about how about the people around her? What are
the
the
people
people
around her, from what I know, seem positive.
Okay.
Like she doesn't have anyone around her, to my knowledge, that is causing detrimental things.
Um, you know what I would probably start her off on is you know how we had those free classes on self-esteem and self-image? Like the very first one was abandonment, and then there was the 3 different aspects of self-esteem, and then self-worth. And I don't know how much abandonment is her thing, but definitely she can work the three parts of the self-esteem.
Okay.
And so like those are divided up, but that was also kind of made to like go to the public, but it addresses quite a bit. And so like, there's recordings of it, there's a PDF of it. And, if she has some of the oils, like, there was no kit that came with it because it was a free thing, but she could piece that together, or we had kits that were made up that were turnkey and ready to go. And so she can always order that if she'd like. But those were kind of meant for, it backs up something else that we're in the process of doing. And it ties into a deeper class that we're going to be doing later in April. And that series is going to continue. And so it's kind of like a way to deal with psychological things for the public, where we kind of integrate a little bit of physiology and psychology, but it's not like a crazy intense process. Like even the self-image, I divided it up into like brain fatigue one day and self-image the other day. And so I would lean her into those.
Okay.
That could keep her busy for a while. There's multiple classes, and she could do those at her own pace, and it would get the ball rolling in a lot of those areas. And then, if she wants to go a little bit harder, a little bit deeper, we can do that. And if she doesn't, she can just kind of roll with those. I give a little bit more explanation than normal, and I think those are good ones to do for somebody like that.
Okay, thank you. I'll pass that over. She's very interested, so that'll be helpful. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Sahaja, then Robert.
Hey, Sajananda.
Hi there.
Hey.
Hi. I just wanted to check in with my my ear and my vertigo that I talked about a couple of weeks ago,
Mhm.
because I'm still feeling dizzy, and I know that the dizziness is sort of only when I lean over to the right side, and if I'm going from sitting up to lying down. And
So
I
is
also
it about the same or has it improved? Like
it
where?
it improved in the fact that I'm not dizzy all the time now. It's just really
Okay.
regulated to that one piece. And I just realized as I've been dealing with this that I've had problems with this ear most of my life, but
Yeah.
it's been so far, in different sequences that I forgot about it. But, I can really, it feels like it's almost irritated, achy, just the right ear. And
Does it feel inflamed inside the ear or?
I can't tell what inflamed would feel like exactly. It feels like it doesn't. I know that's a weird answer.
No, it's not actually. It's not.
It feels different from the other ear.
Okay.
I can say that. And
And remind me, are you having any sinus issues or anything like that?
no sinus issues.
Okay.
And you had me doing hyssop, just inhaling, and then rosemary verbena, and then trigger point blend on my
On your throat, in
the
your neck.
sternocleidomastoid muscles.
Right.
And I've been doing that pretty faithfully. And I'm just wondering if there's something else now going on. I have this sense, and I've been told that that right ear is smaller. I mean,
Yeah, that's
ear.
possible. That it can be smaller. That's very common actually. I have like one of my ear canals is way smaller than the other one. And you can be a little bit more prone to some, that being irritated. But I still always go back to the sternocleidomastoid. Like even with that, even if they're smaller, it still should be able to function properly. And so you're putting trigger point blend in, you're still doing hyssop.
Yeah. I'm just doing inhalations of the hyssop and the rosemary.
Yeah.
Um,
And I mean, this is a weird thing to say, but like if you were carrying something and you're holding out in front of you, does it get worse?
no, it's really, I've been able to pinpoint it down to quick movements to the side. Like if I put my right ear to my right shoulder really quickly or leaned over to the side, there, it'll go. And, I've had problems with this ear, as I said before, but I've never had the dizziness that's come with it now.
Let me look something up here real quick. Yeah, it just keeps coming back, sternocleidomastoid. Okay. So it's bending and so I just have you applying the trigger point blend to the area.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's have you do an inhalation with, still do all the other things, but with the trigger point blend, let's have you do an inhalation where you're just kind of breathing it into your body and breathing it into your neck and into your shoulder. A little bit into your chest as well, like kind of, the whole like area. And you can breathe it into other parts of your body. Basically, we're just trying to stimulate the process, like while you sleep, the anabolic process, which is when like the muscles and the nervous system, the glands, all of that reboot. And it's not so much that I mean, it's a complicated way of saying this, but let's just, it's not so much that the sleep is the issue, but like there's just a certain, the body can get into a state where it's just harder and harder to let those trigger points go. And even just inhaling the blend kind of like will shift you out of that. And so, you know, I don't know that I even worry about like trying to go to a chakra, just like kind of breathe it in with your awareness on the different parts of that side of the neck and the sternocleidomastoid and the shoulder, a little bit of the chest, like all that, and see how that does. Do that like maybe if you can, like twice a day. Like keep doing all the other things and just add that component.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can even go up on the side of your head and the whole bit. And the goal is that it kind of, that blend kind of helps like a weird kind of tension leave the body that other things don't really do. And let's just see if it's some of that. Like it's I think it's moving in the right direction, but still sometimes that last like 10-20% can be hard to eradicate with a problem that's been there a while. And so like let's just keep working different angles with that. But I think the trigger point thing is still like probably the key thing to do.
Okay, great. I'll try that. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Okay, thanks.
Take care.
You too.
And then go ahead, Robert, then Sandra.
Hi, Greg.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I have on the call with me a client of mine, Tracy. She wants to talk a little bit about the situation she's in.
Okay.
Hello. Hello.
Hey, how are you, Tracy?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good, thank you.
What can I do for you?
Okay. I am a 46-year-old healthy female with a great life,
Mhm.
but I've had chronic, unrelenting, unyielding back pain since the age of 15. It has gotten worse in the past 9 or 10 years. I have been to many medical doctors who have been unable to find a reason or a way to help the pain.
So we've done like x-rays, MRI, things like that.
I've had a fusion, I've had a discectomy, I've had multiple. I've also been to just about every alternative modality available without a change to the pain. At this point, I'm open to anything that will relieve the pain or otherwise.
And how did the pain start?
Literally at 15, I was a lifeguard, and I just, when I would stand up, my back would start to ache.
Okay. And whereabout is the pain?
The low back.
The
Across
low
the
back,
whole-
but like, does it go across? Does it go
Yes.
up and down?
Nope, it's across, it's muscular, it doesn't radiate. It's across the band of the low back, the whole band.
Across like side to side.
Yes, correct.
And is it just like right above the hip bones, or does it go a little bit higher?
Recently it's gone, it's kind of crept up, but that's the corpus was the low back pain was in the beginning and when I was 15.
Okay. And there was never any like accident, or even if it was years earlier, there was never any sort of issue where there was an injury to the area or car accident, anything like that?
I mean, I fell off a basketball hoop when I was probably 10, but I don't know that was the reason. I mean, I'm 46, so that's the only thing I can ever think that would be the issue.
And when you fell off the basketball hoop, how did you land?
On my
On your
tailbone.
butt? On your tailbone. Okay, and that's probably not it either. I agree with you. So, do you have any pain across your mid back?
Yes.
Okay.
It's crept up. It
So-
didn't start that way, but yes.
Okay, it didn't start that way. So, I mean, it's a weird issue that can happen, and the reason why it's hard to treat sometimes is that it's actually not the back. It's there is these two big like muscles that run down the abdomen, and they're referred to as the rectus abdominis.
Yes.
And when they have two little trigger points like down kind of like right above the pubic bone, and
Yeah.
then so that's the low back pain across like side to side, and then you have two that are like right on each side below the rib cage. And I can send you a picture. We'll post this picture right now so that you can see it. And you can also see the kind of the pain pattern. But what happens is the trigger points are there, but they cause the back pain. And you know, it's a weird thing because it's a trigger point, and trigger points, like where the problem is not where the pain is being felt. And
Right.
so a lot of times whenever you see back pain, when it's more like the back muscles, you usually see it's like more up and down, or it's very localized into the spinal area. But here, we're going to post it here in the chat so you can see it. Here, this is the abdominal muscles, and they cause the back pain, but you know, it's still neurological, but it's more of what they would call a referred pain, which is different than radiating, right? Referred pain is there's a dysfunction, but it's causing a reaction somewhere else. And in this is you basically, I mean, you could still do things to treat the back to calm it down, but really the treatment has to happen on the abdomen. And you can put things that are, again, kind of like what I was talking with the person prior, Sahajananda, with the trigger point blend. And for this, you would use some antispasmodics potentially. And you would actually apply them to your abdomen, like from the bottom of your ribs down to the pubic bone, like especially down like the center, like this area. It's kind of a narrow muscle that runs down from top to bottom. And so, did you get the picture?
Yeah.
So she's posting it, and those two X's, like there's one up high and one down low. Those
Yes.
are the areas that are the trigger points themselves, and that need to be treated. And then the red lines on the back are the potential pain patterns. And so with this, you know, you can try to do things to calm down on the backside, but really it's the front side that's going to calm it down. And so. Did you do sports or something in high school or?
I was a dancer, but I've also had 3 pregnancies.
Okay. But like when it first came on, you were like doing dancing?
I was
or?
a dancer. Yeah, I was a dancer, but not a good one.
Okay. And were you doing like a lot of sit-ups or anything?
No,
or
I really wasn't.
you weren't? I mean, it can happen for all kinds of reasons, but given that age, I mean, it's a little odd that it happens at that age, but it can happen at any time. And so I would go through and I would treat this. And, you know, like you can see the picture, you can take in and kind of rub where those X's are to try to unwind it. But I would put something on it that's like ginger or that trigger point blend or some marjoram, some basil. Ginger works really well for trigger points. So does cedar. You could put in a little lotion and put a couple drops and you can rub it in on that area. But Robert can also do a little bit of healing where he will go through and use the energy work to hit those X's and unwind it on both those ways. And then it's so chronic that, I mean, it can cause back instability. It can cause, I mean, that would also throw the diaphragm off. That would increase the muscular tension and the little muscles that run up and down the spine, the multifidi. So that would start compromising like discs and things like that.
Yes.
And so, I mean, it definitely could have turned into this like really complicated situation, but the pain that you're describing, this would be the first thing that I would go to is just treat the rectus abdominis and that whole abdomen area. And, you know, in the days that I used to do osteopathic stuff, I mean, we'd use our fingers and go like up under the rib cage in the areas and like try to release the diaphragm. But in doing that in and around the where the rectus abdominis is, it's a way to release that as well. And that it's been there for so long, it's definitely going to have like secondary issues with it being present there. But it sounds like you guys are already like tapping into all those things. So you really need to kind of find more of the root kind of cause. And if you think about like the the back is stabilized by not just the back muscles, but also the abdominal muscles.
Right.
And so it's an area that often gets overlooked with like back issues. And I would thoroughly treat this before I would move on from it. You know,
Yeah,
if I was your therapist, this would be, you've already done a whole bunch of other things. So I mean, I would go really hard and deep on this abdominal muscle.
Okay. Great. Robert, anything else?
Yeah, I would say, Robert, I would say like treat her pretty solid for a couple of weeks. Use like things that are antispasmodic. Like I kind of like ginger a little bit more here than marjoram or basil. They would work, but either trigger point blend or ginger by itself, and then just rub it, have a rub into the whole abdominal area. And then on the trigger point areas, do like healing using sweep those areas with green and electric violet. Just keep sweeping them quite substantially. You could actually even sweep it a little red, like green, then red, then electric violet. And it should start producing some relief. The issue is going to be that it's been there for so long that it's developed secondary trigger point activity, in different parts of the spinal muscles and things, but that she's already had some surgical procedures and things like that. I would just go really hard on the abdominal area and then revisit the back thing in like a couple of weeks.
Does it matter if
Okay.
I've had a hysterectomy?
No, it wouldn't matter.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Reagan. I have another one too.
Sure. Keep me posted on that one though, Robert. Like if I need to talk you through any of that, like let me know.
Okay.
But I think with that picture and the stuff that we've already talked about and things in past, it should be relatively straightforward.
Sounds good. Okay, back mid-December, you spoke with another client, Karen, and she had several different symptoms. One of them was psoriasis. That was her primary concern.
Okay.
And at the time you suggested spikenard applied neat to the areas of concern daily, 2 drops and 2 ounces of water juice at night, wash with the parsley soap bar liquid, and 2 drops of butterbur and water daily.
Okay.
And she's seen some improvement, but not a lot. She's wondering if there's a way to step it up from where she's at.
Okay, so she's applying the spikenard to the area at least once a day?
Yes.
Let me just look something up here real quick.
Okay.
Okay, so she's putting it neat on the sites, and remind me of where the sites are at.
I don't remember.
Okay, it's not super critical, but I was just curious. So one of the things that we could do is we have like a couple of options. I kind of don't want to step away from the spikenard. Like I think that the spikenard, we just need to maybe bump up the dosage. And so I would say she could do one of a couple of things. She could apply it neatly to the areas that are, the outbreak, twice a day. But I'm wondering, like, have her do that once neat, and then even do like a body lotion or a body tonic or something like that, where she puts the spikenard all over her body. And the rationale would be that spikenard helps to balance out the skin. It helps the skin to be like less agitated. And so, like, even sometimes where somebody's having an allergic response, sometimes the skin is super agitated, causing the response, and we would use like a spikenard bath or spikenard, body lotion or tonic to calm everything down. And the spot treatments don't seem to be doing it. So I would say let's continue with the spikenard that she has, but like apply it to the whole body. Like have her make some into a lotion or something of that area. Some lavender baths could be okay, just to I say that and I'm gonna take that back. Let's drop the lavender baths. If anything, she could take a spikenard bath.
Would a
The other thing that I would add maybe is Moroccan thyme taken internally, like maybe 2 or 3 drops, just to regulate the thymus. The thymus will calm down the immune response attacking the body. And when we're dealing with psoriasis, it is an autoimmune issue. It's an overproduction of skin cells. So we're wanting to calm down the immune response, and we're wanting to calm down the overproduction of skin cells, which means we're trying to balance out the skin.
Okay. And when you said spikenard is a body tonic, I get that, or lotion, could it be Theralotion?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Okay, I'll pass that on. Thank you much.
Okay, yeah, and keep me posted on that too. Like,
Okay.
the thing with psoriasis is there's no clear path on like, oh, this treats psoriasis. It's this weird thing where you just kind of have to keep, going back and forth with it until you find the right thing. And because it's autoimmune, like even that will work for a while and then you have to change. And
Okay.
so it's one of those things that we'll just have to keep revisiting until the flare-up calms down.
Okay, and if it doesn't calm down in a few weeks, I'll bring her back on the call so she can answer more specifics.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if it doesn't calm down in a few weeks, I would say we probably need to go a little bit harder at the immune system rather than just the skin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you much.
Okay.
And class this weekend was fantastic.
Oh, good. I'm good.
I really loved it. And I'm still processing the energy. And I say that vaguely because it was every color.
Yeah, I know.
I was just like, whoa. So thank you.
You're so welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed. Yeah. I've been wanting to teach that class for so long. I was so happy to be able to teach that class finally.
It was fun.
Good.
Thank you.
And then go ahead, Sandra, then Deborah.
Hey, Sandra.
Hi, Greg. I want to parrot what Robert said. That was just a wonderful class.
Oh, good. I'm good.
And I'm still trying to assimilate all the information you gave, which may take me the rest of my life. But anyway, it was a great class. I have a couple of questions today. I think they're fairly simple. What would you recommend for an 85-year-old man who suddenly has acquired travel anxiety? He immigrated here from Italy when he's young and goes back to Italy every 3 or 4 years. Always been a great traveler, but now he's really anxious about the process. I mean, he's not afraid of flying. It's well, my bag.
It's like the traveling and has there been like an incident where like he fell or like an illness or anything like that in the last year?
I asked his daughter that, and she said no. Well, what happened was they had another trip maybe a month ago, and nothing worked out well, you know, all the
Yeah.
things that happen to you now when you travel, which, you know, is anxiety producing for anyone, but it's become kind of debilitating for him. He
Yeah.
feels like he has to make this trip. It may be his last one to see his family. So he feels like he has to go, but she said he's not sleeping, worrying about it. So I didn't know if there was a difference between just regular anxiety and this kind of anxiety.
Well, there can be like there is different kinds of anxiety, and you know I don't know that they're necessarily labeled like that, but you know there can be anxiety from past events. There can be anxiety from you know old memories, anxiety from you know poor respiratory rate and things like this. But like in this particular case, you know I call it like fear anxiety. But you know, there's irrational anxiety or fear, and then there's rational anxiety, fear. And I would say this probably falls under rational anxiety and fear.
Yeah,
Like
I
you
would
know,
too.
like traveling, like you said, traveling, especially internationally, is not like what it used to be. And you know, there's more problems potentially with international flying than local flying. And you know, there's just not just the difficulty, but there's also the potential for getting sick or you know, contracting COVID and then not being able to leave. Like there's lots of reasons to have anxiety about going to Italy right now.
Mhm.
You know, for him. And so yeah, I mean, I think we can try to keep him calm, but like unless there's a dramatic change in things that someone would read in the news in the next, you know, few months or whatever before he goes, it's probably not going to go away. You know what I mean? So the best thing you can do is try to calm it. And so I would say there's a couple things that you could do.
Mhm.
You know, one would be that, you know, you could start giving him a little bit of the kava kava or spikenard internally, like daily, especially like as right as he's getting ready to go to bed.
Mhm.
You could, if those aren't something you have handy, tarragon, and the reason being that the tarragon balances out the rest and repair mode, like it helps tone that, and
Mhm.
it also helps you deal with like a little bit of shock or emotional upset. And he's not necessarily like upset about what's happening, but the upset is like perceiving what potentially might happen.
Right.
And you know, like I might get stuck, I might do this, I might have that, I might, you know, there's a whole bunch of the what ifs. And it's not going to fix it, but it might be able to calm him down a little bit with that. And then the other thing would be that blue healer, like body tonic or lotion or something. I would have somebody rub that on his back like every night.
Okay.
Like it's going to calm down his emotional responses. It'll calm down some of his agitation in his body from all this stuff. And it doesn't change the thing that he's going to be going and doing, but it just helps you to be less agitated and less like anxious about what you're going to have to do, you know. And you know,
Is Blue Healer something that he could inhale, like if he were on?
yeah, he could inhale it, or but it's probably better topically for him. I mean, he could, but
because I was thinking if he were in transit, you know, it would be.
yeah, he could smell it like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Even inhaling the kava kava would work, but I mean, he has some valid reasons for why he's, you know, anxious and,
Yes,
and
I agree.
yeah, and the thing is it's not even like, well, we hope for like a good smooth travel with no problems. Like you can't really even think that way anymore. Like it's going to be, I hope we're able to deal with the problems that pop up rather than I hope there's no problems. And so I think the thing is if we can keep him calmed down, that as he's traveling and whatever hiccups pop up, you know, he's able just to adjust and flow and adapt
Mhm.
I mean, sometimes the issue is just like there was a delay or there was a bigger layover or whatever. But it still is like nothing ever goes super smooth traveling anymore.
Right.
Like we factor in so much extra time when we travel because I mean, there's times where we can't get home for an extra day or something. And so you just have to be prepared for that weird things are going to happen.
Okay. And I have one other thing. I've been thinking about this for a while.
Mhm.
If you are inhaling a blend,
Mhm.
say one oil like ylang ylang overwhelms the others. So, and you're only smelling ylang ylang, does the olfactory bulb, does the brain register the other smells that's in the blend, even
Yeah,
though
because you're inhaling, and even though like it's registering that you're only smelling one particular thing,
Mhm.
there's still little nuances that are also impacting it. You have the energy of it, and then you also have the chemistry of it. So as you're inhaling, you have the olfactory response. You also have the component of getting the chemistry of those plants, because as they evaporate into the air and you're inhaling them, how you're getting the scent is molecules hitting your nasal cavity and then hitting your respiratory tract and then eventually hitting your lungs. And so when blood passes through this tissue, it's being infused into the blood, and then you're also pulling in the energy of it. And so on a lot of different levels, you're getting it. You're getting the shift with the olfactory component. You're getting the chemistry getting into your blood, and then you're getting the energetic component.
okay. So would you say the same if, for instance, you have clogged sinuses, so you can't smell it very well?
Yeah,
Would
still
it be
works.
still the same?
Yeah, still
Okay.
works. Yeah,
Okay.
you're just not and clogged sinuses. Rosemary verbena is very good for undoing the clogged sinuses, both inhaled and a couple drops internally. It reduces the inflammation and things. Basil is very good for that as well. And basil will help restore that sense of smell. If, sometimes with chronic sinus issues, you lose that sense of smell. Basil will help you get it back.
What about eucalyptus? That's the one that,
Eucalyptus will open up the nasal passages and help break down some of the mucus. It doesn't reduce inflammation in the mucous membranes quite as well as like rosemary or basil, but it definitely opens up the lungs, and it does help break down some of the mucus up in the nasal passages. Sometimes eucalyptus globulus can be a little too much for some people. And so eucalyptus radiata or polybroct is a little bit softer. I tend to use eucalyptus radiata in this area because it's a little bit better for those mucous membranes up there and has a little bit stronger antibacterial effect on those areas. So if there is a little bit of bacterial growth, eucalyptus will reduce it, but radiata seems to work a little bit better in the nasal cavity.
okay. All right, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Deborah, then Jennifer.
Hey, Deborah.
Hey, Greg.
Hey.
Man, I can't say enough about last weekend's class. So I'm really looking forward to how you're going to follow up on that one. I had so I have an aloe bee, and you had mentioned that the Sacred Blue had a lot of aloe in it. I'm curious. I mean, I know that when you have a blend, it kind of enhances the characteristics of an oil. But if you just use the aloe, like on your Anja, would that have a similar effect?
Similar effect for what?
The blue, it's sort of like at the end of the class, we did that little shortcut with the sacred blue. And I was just wondering if
Oh,
you
where we did all
substituted-
seven oils.
Yeah, if you substituted the
So
aloe-
Sacred Blue, the aloes is in it, but actually the majority of it is Blue Lotus and tuberose. So if you put just plain aloes up there, it actually does something different.
Okay,
When you
I
put
have
aloes
tuberose.
like up on the forehead in that area, it
Yeah.
does clear out the kind of like the thoughts and the stress that's in and around the head. It does clear those things out, but it would do something different if you just focused on the ajna.
so the other
Clearing
thing
to the mind, but not the thing we did on the ajna at the end of that class was more for the protection.
protection, okay. I'm actually more drawn to tuberose than the aloes.
Mhm.
I'm not really sure why. I'm hoping I
Mhm.
get some thoughts on that. Because it feels like since the aloes is more expensive, that it's more precious, that I should be drawn to it. I don't really understand what that is, but so protection. Speaking about protection, I had more insight on my issue that I had brought up during the class. And I coincidentally had a healing that was scheduled on Monday that I went through. And this woman that I mentioned had cords all over the place on me. And actually Monday, I had to sort of physicalize from those cords. I was getting very physically sick. So we cleaned up the cords. And then the other information, the tidbit that I got was that she was tapping into my third eye and watching my activities. So my question to you is,
I don't know that that's something that can be said, but okay.
okay,
Just because a healer says something doesn't mean they're accurate.
all right. I definitely trust you on that, which is
The
why
level of clairvoyance that would take and the level of time and energy it would take.
yeah, okay,
You know what I mean? Like it's,
yeah,
yeah.
right.
But anyway.
Yep. So the part about the cords, if I had not had that healing, just doing, and since I'm not a pranic healer, I know sort of a very layman's way of cutting cords, and I do that, but obviously I wasn't doing it thoroughly. Using the rue,
Mhm.
and would I have been able to eliminate these cords is kind of where I'm going. It's what else could I have done?
So you can use the etheric cords to kind of clean them. It makes it a little bit easier to cut, and then you can cut or release the cords with rue. And sometimes you want to diminish, because some of the issue is that there's a back and forth between the energy body of both people, and so hyssop will calm that down.
So how would I apply that with the rue and the hyssop? Would it just
Just
be
inhale.
just inhale and just alternate between the two? And do several rounds of it, and
Yeah, until you feel more comfortable.
okay, all right,
Yeah.
very good.
And
Thank you.
like going back to what the healer said, like they're tapping into something, but maybe the translation is not necessarily like the most accurate thing. Like they're probably perceiving something, but it's not exactly what was being said. You know what
Okay.
I mean? Their explanation wasn't like they're perceiving something, but it might not be what they pinpointed. Doesn't
Okay.
mean that it's not, there's not something there. It's just maybe not what that explanation was.
Okay.
People think
So-
other people have way more ability than they do. You know what I
Um,
mean? Like I'm not one where, you know, that takes somebody who's incredibly skilled. And if they were incredibly skilled, they wouldn't be doing things like this. They'd be doing things on a much larger scale, and you know, would be about, you know, money or power or something like that. And
Yeah.
yeah.
So how, except for to keep, when I feel like I'm around somebody with this kind of negative uh, personality, how do
Hiss up,
I
hiss up.
just hiss up all the time until I feel like, okay, there's no preventative, like to keep the
Hiss up,
person.
hiss up. Yeah,
Okay, great.
yeah, yeah,
Thanks.
yeah, yeah. You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Jennifer, then Troy.
Hey, Jennifer.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
Hey, hey. How's things on your
Hopefully-
end?
Oh, things are going really well. I hope you can hear me okay.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm driving. So I had some more questions about Aiden.
Sure.
He's doing absolutely fantastic, personality-wise and outlook and just feeling
Mhm.
well. So because he's been on the frankincense and myrrh,
Mhm.
and he was inhaling the cinnamon, and actually encouraged him to put some of the cinnamon in his water as well. So that all seems to be going really, really well. And he was up to 6 drops a couple times a day of the frankincense and myrrh. And he's been doing great. He's actually, his spine has actually even improved a little bit in the curvature. And more recently, we did get a spinal x-ray back, actually just last week. And so in the notes, I actually passed it along because it was a little bit lengthy, in hopes that maybe it would be better to look at it. And I don't know
Okay.
if you're able to do that or not, but it's
Yeah,
in the plant piranha chat. I didn't share it with everybody.
Yeah.
She'll send it over to me. Yeah.
Okay. So my question is mainly, is there anything we can do? Like, what are our possible next steps? Like,
So, okay, so he's doing better, like personality wise and how he's feeling and interacting. What do we know
Yes.
about, and the spine's improving a little bit. What do we know about the hormone levels? Like where are we at with hormonal levels?
so he hasn't been on any growth hormone because we can't get a hold of it. It's like,
Right. And is he
so
noticing that he's not on human growth hormone? Does it feel like he's just managing, or?
it's like, I don't even, when we talked to the doctor about it, and he's had more testing done, like blood work done, it's like she wanted to go ahead and decrease the amount of growth hormone, and just start out with a lower dose when and if we're able to get a hold of it again.
How much did she
So-
want to reduce it by?
By 2 milligrams, or I don't even know if I'm using the right verbiage, but 2 grams or 2 milligrams, or
And how much was he taking?
he was taking like 7.6, and she wants me to go to
So
like
she's talking about,
5.6.
right, so she's talking about reducing it by 25-30%.
Yeah. And so my biggest concern is like his spinal alignment. And I think he's still growing. It's just the spine needs to come into alignment, and we're supporting him energetically.
And remind
I
me,
just don't-
what's his age? Like, how old is he?
His bone age is about that of a 15-year-old, but he is 19.
So like sometimes what happens, like you would look at this more for like when there's a chronic health issue, or when actually where I look at this the most is actually in spiritual practice or practices of like accelerating spiritual development, but it still can come back around for different health issues, especially when it's a little bit more endocrine related. And one of the things that we go through and we look at is we look for like, okay, is the autonomic nervous system balanced? And that's the involuntary part of the nervous system. And then the thing is we look at the somatic nerves, which are your voluntary part of your nervous system. I don't usually look at this one too intensely, but we look at like, okay, are the sensory nerves overstimulated? And usually there needs to be some sort of purification on the motor nerves, the ones that have to do with action. But those are usually in a very specific kind of realm. And then the other thing that we look at would be like a balancing of the not autonomic function, balancing of the vital centers, which are like limbic function. The balancing of the limbic, just basically limbic centers, and so there can be odd imbalances there, and when there are imbalances there, it can impact endocrine function. I don't know about how much this would impact like the spinal misalignment, but it would probably impact the hormonal issues a little bit more. It would still be with pretty big dosages of the frankincense and myrrh. Like, I'd stay pretty hard on that. So we're doing 6 drops twice a day. The thing that I would do to balance out the vital centers would be that oil cistus. And you can have him inhale with his awareness between the eyebrows. You could also have him take a drop or two and rub it between the eyebrows. Or if he's doing okay with taking things internally, like a drop or two of cistus just at different times than when he's doing the frankincense and myrrh.
Okay,
It could be 5 minutes afterwards.
sure. Does it have
But-
to be different times? Like if he's willing to put it all together, is that okay?
I would just let his body kind of if he drinks it, like give it at least a couple of minutes, and then take it so that it's not just mixing with the frankincense and myrrh, because then it will start doing something a little different. So you
Okay.
want it to be a little bit separate, just for the sake of that it's going to do what it does by itself.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
And I mean, it sounds like he's doing good with the dosage that we have him on. I mean, we could always increase that still a bit more, but I think we're good with the dosage. Like 6 twice a day is pretty healthy. And
Okay.
so let's stick with that, and then do the cistus and everything else that's in motion, and we'll kind of play it by ear after that. Like maybe let me know how he's doing after about 10 days or 2 weeks.
Okay, so we're also, thank you. We're also like, just so you know, every time he gets a massage, she's putting them, we put on the margarine before he goes to
Oh,
help
good.
facilitate every time he goes to chiropractor, because she does some really great techniques that are really helping. We put the marjoram on, and then
Okay.
energetically when we're working together, like I've been teaching him some meditation techniques,
Sure.
and he's been using it, and like using sound and visualization for himself. So I'm just hoping that all of this kind of pieces together for him. So, but it sounds like we're on the right track. Okay, thank you.
You're so welcome.
Okay, all right, take care.
Keep us posted on that.
I will. Thank you.
Glad
so
he's
much.
doing better. I'm glad he's
Oh.
doing.
It's remarkable, like just laughing and carrying on and just being
Yeah.
silly, and it's just beautiful. So
You know, and the thing is too, like, you know, that we're seeing such good progress. You know, sometimes it's just that and some time, like it just needs some consistent time treating it, and that it
Sure.
keeps improving. You know, I think we can still keep reducing the amount of, you know, let the doctor do it, but like the amount of growth hormone, I think that can still continually be reduced if we just keep treatment going on for a little while.
I hope so.
Yeah.
There's some type of gift that's happening that we can't get a
Yeah.
hold of it, and
Yeah.
we're doing all this other stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah. Okay, thank you so much.
you're so welcome.
Okay, bye.
And then go ahead, Troy, then Donita.
Hey, Troy.
Hey y'all. Thank you so much for a really amazing class this past weekend.
Oh, good. I'm glad you liked. You had a good
Yeah, I
experience.
really enjoyed it. Yeah, I had a great experience. I'm really excited to see you guys when you're in Austin soon.
Yeah, we made a little bit of a rookie mistake. We booked the class the weekend of the Super Bowl, so we had to scoot it back a week.
Right on.
If anybody was going to show up on Super Bowl weekend, it would probably be you guys in Austin, but still hard to go up against the Super Bowl.
Well, we're looking forward to it. I have a couple of questions real quick.
Sure.
One of them is I vaguely remember seeing something about skin conditions and acne, but got a teenage kiddo and I was trying to remember what to do for acne stuff.
Teenage boy or girl? Not that it matters. I'm just curious.
Boy.
Boy. So with that, and what age are we talking about?
14.
14.
Almost 15.
I mean, with acne, like if you're just needing to draw something out, tea tree always works, but I mean, it pulls it out to a head and the whole bit. And let me look up my class thing. Give me just a sec. At that age, like, is there a little or a lot?
It comes and goes and be like pretty clear and then will be bad for a little while. I mean, it's not like super horrible, but
I would probably put like a couple of drops of helichrysum and like a little bit of lathered soap, and then have them rub it on the face. If that's not, like, if they don't want to do it like that, you could also put like a few drops of helichrysum in like a little bit of like aloe vera gel, and then just have them rub it on to the point where it like dries, so it gets on that way. The other one that would be a little bit stronger for that would be German chamomile. And the thing with German chamomile is that it does clean up some of the metabolic waste that can be in the area. I don't know that, I mean, it does stimulate white blood cells, it reduces inflammation. It's very good for cleaning things up. And I think between the two, that could be it. I mean, it is like a hormonal thing. One of the supporting things that I do with that sometimes is I have them take a couple capsules of echinacea daily for a while. And the echinacea can be helpful just because it kind of helps clean up the blood and everything like that, which would kind of go hand in hand with what the German chamomile would do. And so I think some version of that combination should like, you know, they're a teenager, so it's going to still probably pop up, but it would keep it really significantly reduced, and that the acne just doesn't last forever, and also prevents any potential like scarring on the face.
okay.
Yeah.
And then would there be any difference for like 30 something like female having like acne and skin breakouts like on the back?
You could do the same thing, but I would say I would probably also add to that mix. Like you could do the same thing, like if it's not the face and it's other parts of the body, still kind of do either helichrysum or the German chamomile, but I would add to that a drop or two of Vitex on the temples just to regulate the hormone levels.
Okay.
Because most likely it's hormonal. Like that's just kind of the lay of the land. If it was a guy at that age, we'd use like fenugreek or Damiana. But for a female, the Vitex should help with that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Is it like mid-30s or late 30s or
early to mid?
Early to mid? Yeah, I mean you could just do it until the hormones kind of regulate, but like if they're having this problem like early to mid 30s, like as she gets into her late 30s, I would just start doing the Vitex pretty regular, like daily, as she starts to enter into the late 30s, early 40s, just to keep the hormones regulated. And the hormones are going to fluctuate more in the 40s, and so it would just keep all of that kind of regulated.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it can start earlier, and sometimes it's way later in life, but when you start to see signs of it, like you just start treating it.
And just do on the temples with her?
Yeah,
or,
Vitex is
also?
Like Vitex, like if it's really, you could do, I mean, you could do both, but it's really an either or thing. She could either just take it internally or she could dab it in the temples. Both work equally as well, and you really don't need to do both. And so if she doesn't like the smell, have her take a couple drops internally. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. And then another question that's popped up a couple of times and I've forgotten to ask in Q&A. I think that there was something about this in like the anxiety class. I can't remember what the class is called, but is there a single oil or a blend that is like a good first responder kind of like shoot from the hip thing to carry when you start noticing like thematic trend of like a particular lower emotion? So like say for anger, or for like if the person keeps going into like judgment and anger stuff, like
is it usually anger, anxiety? Melissa. Yeah, like especially the anger thing, Melissa will calm down the anger, but like if somebody's really in the middle of an angry bout, even a little bit of anxiety or whatever, Melissa is pretty hard to replace. I don't talk about Melissa all the time just because of like the price. It's a little bit more pricey than other oils and everything, and so I just don't want to be the guy that's only talking about precious oils. But chamomiles and like yarrow and things can be very good for anger, but when there's like really like the person gets angry often or gets like kind of stuck in the anger or the anxiety and has a hard time pulling out of it, even just anxiety, Melissa can be very good. It does need to be internal. It does need to be like 2-3 drops internally.
Okay, and if the economy is an issue, like what would be your lower grade for
like anger thing? Probably like going into like Roman chamomile or milfoil, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And the thing that you could also do is like if they want to check it to see is instead of doing a 5 ml bottle, get a 2 ml bottle, see if the 2 ml bottle works for you. And then if it does, then you can always bump up to the 5 ml. But, we just had somebody this last weekend that, wasn't for that. It was like for palpitations, like she had really strong palpitations in the heart. And, I gave her a little bit of Melissa just to see like on her skin, and she'd held, and she was like, no, it didn't really do anything. And then I gave her 3 or 4 drops internally, and she said it stopped almost immediately. Like, it slowed everything down. And so, inhaling it's good, but in these particular cases, like it usually needs to be internal. And done over a period of time, sometimes it soothes certain things that prevents the anger from always popping up. You know what I mean? It's not just like, oh, when you get angry, let's do this. It's like if you do it over a period of time, all of a sudden you're like, oh, that normally would have made me angry, and it kind of doesn't.
Right.
Or like I feel the anger, but I don't go, don't get upset and act on it and things.
Right. And is that closely or directly related to like reactivity and like the tendency to go into the
reactivity, and it's calming and soothing certain things in the endocrine system, but more importantly, it's calming and soothing something in the nervous system, and it just makes you like less reactive. It just makes things not as it's not the crisis that like your mind thinks it is, or that your body thinks it is, because sometimes it's just the body has gotten like super agitated from a bunch of previous things. And so you give it like 5 units of, stimuli that will cause anger, but it's like, yeah, but I've got 100 stored up. So it's 105,
Right.
it calms all that stuff down. I mean, I use Melissa a lot just because it's also super calming to the nerves. It makes it just makes life like really mellow and chill. And it's very fortifying to the heart chakra, the heart center. And so it's like it makes the heart kind of tough, where it's like, okay, something bad happened, but it's not the end of the world, where before it's like, something bad happened, I'm gonna have to shake this off, where now it's just like, is what it is.
Right.
Sometimes the anger is out of fatigue as well. Like the body is run down and doesn't have the energy to either process or doesn't have the energy to deal with the difficulty of the obstacle. And so that can be the anger. And the Melissa helps that as well.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think that's definitely part of it.
Yeah, Melissa is very fortifying. Like you would use it to treat certain types of like depressive states, like melancholy, not like super deep-seated depression, but just like kind of depressive states before they get too bad can be treated with Melissa.
Okay. Yeah, the pattern is kind of like slipping into judgment quickly, easily, and then the anger starts to just spill.
Slipping into judgment is usually either trying to prevent like pain or can be a little bit of the situation might not make the person feel very good about themselves. And so again, Melissa kind of remedies those things as well.
Both. Brilliant.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Oh, I was going to ask, so don't they also call Melissa lemon balm?
Yes.
And so like how effective would be going to like a health food store and getting, starting
you can do it that way, but you'll have to do big dosages. So like if you're going to do like a tincture, do like maybe 2 or 3 dropper fulls at a time. If you're going to do capsules, Probably like 6 capsules 2 or 3 times a day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Donita, and then we also have some special private one in chats.
Hi, Greg.
Hey, how are you?
Um, I'm swimming. The class was wonderful, but let me quickly ask you a quick question.
Mhm.
Oh, so my was a light question. One of my clients' daughter would love an oil that smells like raspberry. Do you have anything? And the client, you know, it's just there's a lot of healing needed. You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of healing.
There
needed.
is an oil of raspberry leaf, but it smells very green. It just smells nothing like raspberries. It's hard to get and expensive. Like
Oh.
but it smells like
Yeah,
like
raspberry
it smells
leaf.
like hay. Like, you know
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean? It does not smell like raspberry.
I know because I'm drinking tea. I mean, the mother, she's been on meth for 20 years, so she's clean now. So there is a lot of trauma there that's being cleared. So anything that's remotely like that would be lovely for the daughter.
That smells like raspberries?
Well, yeah, something sweet, something she said is like, is there a oil that smells like horses? They have horses now. Horses or raspberries. I was like, oh, I'm gonna ask.
What are we trying to do for the person?
You know, the daughters, the 2 daughters, they lived through the mother being addicts, and daughters to help them calm. I haven't worked with the daughters, you know, and the mother is just relatively new and she's doing fabulous, just being, you know, doing her work. But
I would try using either bergamot or neroli for the anxiety for those 2.
yeah, the oldest daughter, actually, they put her on Prozac. She's 12.
Yeah.
Bergamot or neroli.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, so now back to me. This class this past weekend was fantastic, phenomenal, and beyond wonderful at the same
good.
time.
I'm glad you enjoyed.
Yeah, but at the same time, it stirred the pot beyond. I held it all together for so well for so long. And I feel like the well is broken, and yeah, you know, the emotional purging, crying, sad.
So you just had a bunch of emotions come out. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, it started yesterday, but it's just reflecting my whole life and everything. You know, it's like my marriage is just, there's fears, there's old belief systems, everything, like the floodgates are open. So how do I, because it comes in waves and then it's like, oh my gosh, and I can feel it that I can feel that I can see it, it's coming out, but it's like, oh my God, so how do I assist without depleting?
So give me an idea of what's coming up. You're just feeling sad. Like, you don't have to give me details, but just like you're feeling sad, you're feeling upset, you're feeling angry, like you're feeling hopeless. Like, tell me what you're feeling.
A lot of tears.
Okay. So that's sadness.
Borderline grief and old memories from childhood, my mother, and it's like a lot of realizations of what I kind of took on as my own growing up. Belief systems, you know, fear of moving forward, anger, there's just everything, to be honest, you know, fear of moving forward, and at the same like frustration of not moving forward. And also the frustration of like not knowing what to do and how to do it. And there's just like, it feels like a flood. That's why it's just, it feels like a floodgates, and I'm okay. And then I'm crying.
Yeah. I would deal, instead of trying to deal with it all at once, I would deal with like kind of the sadness and grieving, because it sounds like even some of the other pieces are still tied to like a sort of grieving process. And so I would really try to facilitate like the grieving of, you know, whatever it is that's coming up. And, you I think you could stay simple with that. I think going with ginger lily, like, you can apply it to the heart, to the forehead, inhale it quite a bit, thinking of situations, inhale it with your awareness on your brain, because you are going to balance out the two sides of the brain by inhaling with the awareness on the brain. And a lot of times when we're having these kinds of things is we become like a little bit heavier on the left side, and the right side not quite is activated. And so it helps with balancing out the two, and the right side is going to be how you're able to like kind of process and release some of those things rather than having to try to figure out and how to resolve it. Some of it we just sometimes just have to let things go, like and the everyday part of the mind wants to figure out what to do and how to do it, where the right side of the brain is just like, let's just give it to Salvation Army and call it good. You know what I
So
mean?
how do I let go of
Sometimes you
it?
just fill up that box and donate it somewhere and just let it go.
All right, so
You know what I mean?
good. How do I let go of it? Because that's what
Ginger
I'm
lily.
frustrated.
The ginger
Okay,
lily. The
Good.
ginger lily.
because
Yeah.
my husband said something last night and I was feeling it. I was feeling bubbling, I was very sensitive. It's very subtle and it's very
Mhm.
multi-layered. And I could feel it coming up and I was like, oh gosh, here we go. I kept it so all together for so long, so well. I was like, oh dear. And then my husband said something in the evening and it's just like triggered. And it's just like, oh, here we go. And then here I am like judging myself. So it's not even, there's just everything. And then I ended up with a headache, massive headache on Monday, Tuesday, even today. I had a headache. I woke up with a headache. I applied the the headache actually intensified when I put the white wood on my forehead yesterday morning. And my headache just went, poof.
What part of your head was your headache in?
Temples and
Temple.
inner sides and inner, I massaged, I put the sacred, not the sacred,
Like
the
I should do it like
muscular, yeah,
Yeah, like that.
yeah.
Take something like spikenard, vetiver, marjoram, and rub it on this area, like right where your neck and your shoulder come together.
Mm-hmm.
Rub it more there than up on the head or the temples.
The stress, the tension, okay.
Well, the thing with things in the temple and like up over, like when it comes up from behind the ear and all that, and sometimes it's just located in the temple and sometimes it's the whole way around, is it's radiating from that point in the shoulder. And so it's a very common type of headache. And as much as you treat it up here, this is actually the culprit. And like this can still be unwound, but I find that always unwinding this first makes all of this better. Makes it easier to treat, it makes it more responsive to treat. But one of the things that you can do, you can use marjoram up on the sides of the head. I also like to use basil sometimes and just like put on my fingertips and rub it into the temporalis area, like the side of the head. But I would eradicate this first. Yeah.
Perfect. But I feel all of it is all together. It's one.
Yeah.
It's old stuff, like childhood stuff. Like there's just everything just came up flooding. So
Yeah.
anything else would you recommend to kind of moving forward with the, uncertainty with all the changes to just help?
Well, like sometimes when somebody feels like a little bit out of control, which it feels like a little bit of like the uncertainty of the future and everything. One of the things I have people do is Ambret. And you can inhale it, but usually I have people take a couple of drops internally.
Ambret internally.
Yeah.
And that would just help harmonize. Kind of.
It would help you deal with feeling out of control. You know, it's not that you're
That
walking
doesn't
around
bother
feeling
me
out of
that
control,
much.
but like when you're talking about all these different things and this and that, and I don't know what to do and all that, that's a little bit of like a reflection of not feeling like you're in control or not having like a clear path. And Brett's really super good for that. I mean, that's when I use it like that. I mean, it knocks it out. For me, it knocks it out really quick.
Mhm. And that will kind of get rid of like the questions and
Well, it will, I mean, it depends on what we're talking about, but like sometimes the questions are things that are unfolding and it just helps you to deal with the things that are unfolding. And then if it's something where you go, okay, I got to figure out what's going to happen here and now, you know, either yes or no, it helps you just make a decision and be a little bit more okay with it. Because
Oh,
here's the thing with this, some decisions, sometimes it's clear cut, like this is what needs to happen. And sometimes you make a decision and it's weighing on you. Am I making the right decision, the wrong decision? When you can adjust your decision as time goes by. Like I decided on this, but now as I go through, I find that I need to adjust and, you know, go a little bit more left than right, or, you know, whatever it is. It just allows you to not feel like everything is so like it's either now or never, or, you know what I mean? It just takes the edge off of certain things.
that's perfect. And Brett, so what would you do that? Because
The
I can feel it.
I would take the Ambret internally and I would inhale the ginger lily, place it on the heart and the forehead, and then also inhale with it on your brain.
Okay. Yeah, I love ginger lily. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's that the thing with the what you just said is perfect. And I
Mhm.
can see it and I can feel it. And at the same time, when it's the flooding coming, I was like, oh my gosh, just pouring. And I'm crying and I'm just realizing this, like, all these thoughts are the old patterns that are coming. That's not me now. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
so just observing it and I'm just
Yeah.
observing my body reacting. And I was like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
So thank you. I mean, fabulous class, because that's the intention. That's what I was working with. And it's just perfect. You know, I went deep, you know me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know me. Anything I can diffuse in the house to harmonize the energies between me, husband, pets, just assist and diffuse or burn incense or
Is there conflict in the house or no?
a little bit. It's a bit of like this. I seem to be a powerful force in a way, and you know, I don't know how to put it. It is felt when I'm not.
You know what I would diffuse? I would diffuse Cape Snowbush.
Fabulous. Okay.
And the reason being that Cape Snowbush, I mean, there's a couple other oils that do this as well. Alemi could do it. Cypress could do it, but Snowbush and Alemi do it a little bit better. But they help with facilitating like a transition. And even like, I'm not saying like, oh, you and your husband are going to have this happen or that happen, but even if it's
It
like
is happening.
we need to come to a better place. Like things might stay the same, but we got to come to a better place, or we're moving on, or whatever. Like this, whatever it is, it's a transition from where you're at. And I think the more that everybody's on board with that, the better that everything will flow. And those two would be your best bet. Either Alemi or Cape Snowbush. But I'm feeling a little bit more Cape Snowbush for you.
That's what I'm feeling too. And
Yeah,
well said.
yeah.
Thank you for putting it into word, because that's
Yeah.
what's that's the tension is the
Yeah.
transition.
Yeah, it feels like it's a transitional thing. So even what you were saying, it's like, you know, if you think about like it's just the other side of the coin of what you were saying, where you're feeling a little out of control or this, or you're not sure, or things are unfolding, still part of a transition. Like, you know, that literally is what transition looks like. And so
can I escape Snowbush, inhale salt baths, or
sure, Cape Snowbush is an awesome salt bath.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I love me some Cape Snowbush.
Wonderful. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Greg. I can't wait for you to come to Sarasota.
Yeah, a couple more weeks.
I
Yeah.
look forward to giving you and Sam a big hug.
Yeah, it's
Thank
been
you so much.
And then go ahead, Peggy, and then I'll get the person in the chat here.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes.
Peggy.
Yeah, hello. You guys are awesome. The
You're
color-
awesome. You are.
We all are awesome in our own right, right? Yours and Samantha's has to do with the oils and that you facilitate it smoothing, rolling so smoothly. But the colors, oh my gosh, the weekend class was just awesome. And matter of fact, I had the honor and privilege of doing another one of your classes at 4 o'clock this morning. I just loved it. And but the reason I put my little hand up was around 3:30 today, I was really hungry and I had to go over around the corner to get some niacin, and I got a fish taco and I ate it. And afterwards I thought, and my stomach hasn't felt good since. And so I'm thinking, is it possible that I took myself out by eating that thing? And if so, Greg can tell me what to do about my tummy. It's not really upset yet, but it's like slow simmer kind of something. I don't feel bad yet, but it
You
doesn't.
think it was food
feel good.
poisoning? Do you think it was
Pardon?
food poisoning? You think it was food poisoning?
I'm beginning to think after I
Yeah,
was eating
it
it, I was
sounds
really
food
hungry.
poisoning-ish. You know
Well,
what I
when
mean? Like,
I was eating it and then I thought, this is cold. It must have been sitting around. And
yeah.
so whether it's psychological or not, my tummy is like not happy.
Do
So
you have basil?
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
3 or 4 drops of basil in water, and then in a couple hours do it again, and then even one more time before you go to bed, and then when you
Okay.
wake up in the morning, do it again. And
Okay.
it will neutralize a lot of different kinds of food poisoning. In really serious cases of food poisoning, it reduces symptoms, but it doesn't make it completely go away. But this one sounds like it's mild to medium. And
So
so a lot
far.
of times basil will knock it out.
Thank you. I knew you'd had the answer. Thank you
Yeah,
guys. I love you, Samantha. Love you guys.
Yeah. And you don't have to stop having fish tacos, but
Well, it shouldn't have been cold is what kicks
Yeah.
into my mind. And
it makes me think it was sitting around for a while.
it's
you know what
Taco
I mean?
Tuesday, so they're making dozens
Yeah.
of those hot
Yeah.
ones, and I'm thinking, that was cold. It wasn't even warm.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna do my basil right now, my friend.
And these days, sometimes the food poisoning is not even the fish itself. It might have been the lettuce or so,
That's
who
true.
knows? It could be on anything.
Yeah, you're right.
Anything.
That'll
And
teach me
so
not.
when in doubt, like do that. If there starts to be a little bit of like spasms, a little bit of diarrhea, like a drop or two of clove or a drop or two of cinnamon. But basil would be the thing that I would use until something got a little weird.
I know differently.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I'm going to get my basil right now, my friend.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you guys.
You're so welcome.
All right, there's a question here in chat. It's called Morgellons. It's a skin issue. And so I'll go kind of into the details about it. So in the beginning, she had little fibrous strings coming out of her skin at her throat, crown, both shoulders, both quad muscles. And now she gets these black strings 1 centimeter long that comes out of her skin and then goes back to the skin. And so I was trying to find some pictures to kind of show you.
What's
I'll bring straight here. So I have this name and some of like pictures people have taken about it.
Wow. Cool, I've never seen this before.
So I looked up a couple different things while we were looking this up, but like medical science, some people are like, oh, that's not real, that's not a thing, and then people like show pictures and stuff like that. So and then there's
Wow, some of this. And do they have any other health issue? Do they have like any sort of inflammatory thing that's happening or?
No, no other health issues.
Okay, and how old's this person?
Mid-50s.
Hmm.
4 children. So they went into other specific symptoms earlier too. Let me see if I can find that. Like the growths, they feel metallic, super small. Oh, she actually gets these ones that are like metallic looking and super small. And they like apparently even reflect light like a flashlight. Some of the fibers pulled out of the skin can look like little ants. I was trying to find symptoms.
I mean, for something like that, it seems like the body's trying to detoxify something. I really don't have an answer. Let me try to go into this a little bit. I've never seen this condition before. My first thing would be go through and try to clean up the skin or balance out the skin, like how we talked about earlier with spikenard, but one of the things that the body does when it tries to rapidly detoxify is it tries to get rid of it sometimes out through the skin. And so, let me see what's going on if it's trying to detox from metals or things like that. Coriander is something we would use for detoxification when it comes to metals and things like that. But the other thing is that, I don't know if there's ever an exposure to something, chemical or something where they inhaled it, but one of the ways that the lungs detoxify is also getting rid of things through the skin. And so I'm not sure what to say for the next step. So let me look into it a little bit, and I'm curious to see what's up, and we'll come up with something, either email or something here shortly. But I mean, anything at this point would just be a guess on my part. Let me be a little bit more educated about it before I answer, I guess is what I'm saying.
Go ahead, Donita.
Hey, Donita.
Sorry to back. I forgot to ask you, how many drops of the Ambret internally would you
Like 2 to 3
a day?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that, can I quickly ask a question for a friend?
Sure.
In a meditation, it just came back. I forgot about it. In a meditation, she heard the name of angel or archangel. Oh gosh, she's from New Zealand. She's got a funny accent, so I have to translate the accent. The angel of death. What is his name?
Azazel.
Sorry?
Azazel.
I'm kind of forgot about it. It's just the last Azrael. Gosh.
Azrael.
So so she has no idea. She tried to find things about him, and I thought of you because she couldn't find anything besides the fact that it's like the angel of death, because he keeps popping into her meditation.
Let me look through my notes and see.
Okay.
Azrael. And we're sure it's Azrael.
Yeah, Azrael. Yeah, it's like it came loud and clear. She practices some powerful.
Yeah, let me go through and look at my notes. Yeah, I have something on that, but it's not something I use all the time. So I can go through and try to look. And she's just wanting to know what that angel's about or why it's happening or.
Yeah, why? Because she's like perplexed. It's like she asks, like, why is it coming through? And it's like no answer, but then it keeps coming through.
Hmm.
And even she heard it the first time, she doesn't know anything about it, right? So the first time it came loud and clear. The name came
Okay.
loud
Yeah,
and
let me look it up and I'll see.
Okay, thank you.
I'll even try to get something to you tonight about it.
Oh, thank you, because it keeps popping into her awareness and she's no clue.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Or just a question back to the Melissa, for someone who can't stand the smell of Melissa, could you start with just a lower dose? You had told them to take an internal, so I don't.
Lower dose for what?
You can type in specifically for what.
Was it
For
Troy?
anger, for
For
the
anger?
anger.
Was it Troy or somebody else?
It was somebody else.
You're taking it internally for that. So I mean, you can try using like Roman chamomile or German chamomile, something like that. But Melissa usually works a little bit better, and you know, 2-3 drops internally usually is super helpful.
A part of the thing is that almost everything I presented to her, she doesn't like the smell. And so I'm just wondering, is that because is that showing that she's toxic enough that the cure doesn't smell good? Because I've run into, I remember reading that someplace one time, that somebody really needs it, they don't like it at first.
Are we talking about your sister?
Yes, sir.
Can I be super blunt?
Yes, please.
She might be attached to her anger.
Yeah, well, I figured that much, but that's partially what to me comes under that heading of being toxic. So that she's
Okay,
like,
then yeah. You know, you can introduce it to her, but like a lot of times, like if they want relief, they'll try anything, you know what I mean? Or at least try something. And when it's like, yeah. Sometimes it's not attachment, but sometimes it's feeling justified in being angry.
fueling
And
fueling her life right now.
Yeah. And like, you know, as a therapist, I used to just kind of treat it as when they have a belly full, they'll ask for help. You know, it's a harsh thing to say, but it's like
she's
sometimes
about there. I mean, she's really despondent about the changes that have happened in her family, you know, the whole family thing. And and she realizes that she's always had a fear of her children abandoning her. Mostly because she abandoned her own mother. But you know, I mean, we don't need to go there, but I'm just saying it's so if I could just say, just put it in a couple drops in a capsule and see how that does.
Yeah, you do that, or you could just, instead of giving her the oil, give her herbal capsules, but you'll have to take a bunch, like probably 4 or 5 at a time.
Oh no, she's already got the oil and the spray, so we might as well just go, you know, cut right to the chase. Right. Okay, good enough. And we'll see how much she does want to actually embrace happiness. All right, thank you, sir.
You're so welcome.
Question about Melissa real quick. Is Melissa okay to use for sporadic violent episodes in children?
Yeah, actually, Melissa is one of the ones that's what you would use it for in children. You know, first, again, start with a Roman chamomile, but in more extreme cases, we go to a Melissa. In a child, you know, put a drop in water, and you know, it was like sometimes you might only give them like half the glass of water, and then, you know, a couple hours later give them the other half. But a little bit of Melissa internally is really super good for for that. You could augment also by diffusing, or giving them a bath with African bluegrass. That can be helpful as well, but like the big upset feelings, anger outbursts, things like that in small children, I usually start with Roman chamomile. If that doesn't work, then I go to the Melissa. Okay,
Great question.
so we're going to jump into the practice, and we're going to do a thing where it's about balancing out the autonomic nervous system. You're always talking about like toning up the sympathetic, or the every once in a while toning up the sympathetic part of the nervous system. But part of being able to heal quicker, part of your ability to have a clearer mind, and then also for our spiritual practices is dependent on the balancing of the autonomic nervous system, which is also tied to the involuntary part of your nervous system. So it's tied to fight, flight, and rest and repair, right? And so with that, when the autonomic nervous system is imbalanced, it does throw off lymphatic function. So it just seems like the lymphatic system is not responsive. The joints are achy, the foggy head, all those kinds of things. It's not necessarily an autonomic issue, but it's the autonomic nervous system impacting lymphatic function. So this would still play a role a little bit into in immunity that we've been doing, but this is also tied to other things. And so there's a couple oils that you could use here. There's actually several. So one, you could use tarragon. You could use an anise or anise, however you want to say it. You could use rosemary verbena. And then frankincense and myrrh together. So 3 wise men, frankincense and myrrh. If you only have one of them, maybe lean a little bit harder on the frankincense. So let's see if everybody has that. And if not, we'll try to come up with some subs.
Is there one that's the strongest and best?
For this, I actually personally like to use the 3 wise men, the frankincense and myrrh, but any of them that we mentioned are pretty good. Okay, so whatever you have, just begin inhaling, and your awareness is on your heart. It does something different. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, the rosemary camphor does something a little bit different. It would be like a C choice, but if you don't have anything else that we mentioned, you could use it, but if not, I would try one of the other ones. Your awareness is on your front heart. Move your awareness to your back heart. Move your awareness to your forehead. Your awareness is on your forehead. You're taking long, slow, deep breaths. And then your back head. Your awareness is on your back head. And then just let go. Let go of everything, just let go. Begin inhaling again. Your awareness is on your back head. Your awareness is on your forehead. Your back hard. And your front heart. And just be still, be aware, just let it go. Begin inhaling again. Your awareness is on the front heart. Move your awareness to the back heart, the area between the shoulder blades. Your awareness is on the forehead. And then the back head. Just let go. Let go of everything. Just be still, be aware. Just let go. Begin inhaling again. Your awareness is on the back head. your forehead. Your back heart. This is done for you. And your front heart. And then just be still. And then again, begin inhaling. Your awareness is on the front heart. Another one that would work for this is yuzu. The back heart. Your awareness is on the back heart. The forehead. And the back head. And then just let go. Begin inhaling again. Your awareness is on your back head. Long, slow, deep breaths with your awareness on the back head. Your forehead. Your awareness is on your forehead. The back heart. Your awareness is on your back heart. And then your front heart. Just be still, be aware, just let go. Let's just take a moment. Begin inhaling with your awareness on your spine. Just explore the different areas of your spine. And then just let go. So this has a balancing effect on your autonomic nervous system. Helps facilitate deeper spiritual experiences, but also helps improve body function, improve sleep, and reduce your stress response. We'll be doing more of that this weekend in the digestive class. It's a free weekend, so if you feel up to it, join us for the weekend. We'll be talking and lecturing all weekend, and if not, maybe we see you again next Tuesday. Take care, you guys. We're going to do the Astara blessing if you want to join us.